At 2-0, the Seattle Kraken have done something they've never done in the history of the franchise. Is that a glowing recommendation for the Lane Lambert era, or is it just an indictment on how bad things were in the past?
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Seattle hockey fans, welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you your favorite team, the Seattle Kraken, every single day. Erica L. Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken. I am an accredited media member for Milano Cortina, counting down the days until we get there. We'll get to 100 days later this month. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that as we get closer. And also am a contributor over at CBS Sports, mostly for women's basketball and some other things here and there. Want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken, once again, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can head over to FanDuel.com right now and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Okay, we have a lot to talk about. It's a game day. That's right. The Seattle Kraken are in Montreal. Jeff Baker, who is from Montreal, wrote a story about how this is the home opener for Montreal. It's going to be very emotional. They're going to honor a player that recently, lost a battle to cancer. There's a lot going on. We've talked about home openers and all of the fanfare. They can be a distraction if you let them. Freddie Gaudreau will be home. But, that's going to happen for the next week or so in the NHL, across the NHL. You just have to deal with it. But this Seattle Kraken team, 2-0. The Seattle Kraken have never won their first two home games in 4 seasons of trying. And listen, I love to see it. On the one hand, you do something that you've never done, so you're happy about it. You also have 2 wins out the gate. You love that. And the fact that we have not strung together 2 wins to begin the season, I think it tells us a lot about this Kraken team. And so where are you at, Seattle hockey fans? I know some of you have been contributing in or commenting on our YouTube page in particular. We're posting a lot more on TikTok and IG and social media overall. That's a shout out to Joe Dabney, who will be joining me later this week and next week for some fun stuff we have planned. I'll tell you about that. But I think the sentiment right now, from who I've been hearing from at least, is, hey, we'll take it. And we still have some questions. There's still some things that this team isn't necessarily doing at the level that we want them to do it. And I think also I have some questions, and we'll talk about this throughout the week. Yanni Newman. Are we worried about Yanni Newman? Where do we see Shane Wright fitting into things? I still have a lot of questions, but things that I like. Jared McCann, he did have an off-season procedure. I told you, I just didn't think that he found a good rhythm, a good stride. Now, knowing what we know, is part of the reason that he didn't really get integrated, because he was dealing with an injury. That's very possible, but he looks good now. He and Year of Beniers, Matty Beniers, and Vince Dunn lead the team right now when it comes to points. We have Beniers and McCann have been able to score in the first 2 games. Vince Dunn has been getting things good to go with assists. I mean, you have these teams, that are really crushing it. Dunn and Beniers both have 3 points. They lead the team. Nick Suzuki, we'll talk about, leads Montreal. But, when you look at the breakdown right now for this Seattle Kraken, 1 goal, 2 assists for Matty Beniers. Jared McCann has 2 goals in the first 2 games. And for Vince Dunn, he's got 1 goal and 2 assists. And I've talked about this before on previous episodes. I like how the Seattle Kraken are getting into the offensive zone. I guess it was against Vegas on, because I watched back the TV broadcast, and I believe it was JT Brown talking about going into the third period, how neither team was really dominating in the neutral zone defensively. They were able to both teams kind of just pass through, but I think he wanted to see more from both teams defensively in the neutral zone. So maybe that's something that we'll see the Seattle Kraken continue to focus on. But what I liked is that there was applying pressure, not just dumping the puck and hoping for the best, but dumping it with some authority, sending numbers when you dump the puck. So even the person retrieving has someone retreating. I talked about that. So there are a lot of things that we liked. We've heard Lane Lambert say that, he wants to see not necessarily the faceoffs, wins and losses, but more so the structure. And this is what I love about Lane Lambert right now, is that he can always find an area to improve. And those are very specific, very detailed things. He's not talking broad strokes about, or, kind of things that we hear. He's talking about specific things. And that goes back to even when he stops practices, he's talking about one singular specific thing. And the reason you like that, I think some people might get frustrated by that because it's like, oh gosh, you're always on me. There's always something to do. But the positive approach to that is, yes, there's always a way to improve. And once we master one thing, then we can move on to the next. So I like a lot of that. What I'm concerned about is, and I don't think we expected this to be a high scoring team, but Yanni Newman looks so good in preseason. And I don't know that he's necessarily being utilized the way at least I envisioned that he would be early on. If we look at his numbers, I mean, he's playing fourth line minutes right now, with Gaudreau and Cartier, but, he's got less than 9 minutes of ice time. He has, as far as his shots, what we see calculated, I was looking actually at his blocks. He has no shots. This is someone who offensively, we saw a lot of in preseason. And the fact that, he hasn't really gotten going offensively, I think tells me a few things. One, I mean, this isn't the preseason anymore. And we knew that. And honestly, I've been covering this team since the very beginning. Every time I say I like something in the preseason, it's almost like that's the exact thing that becomes the problem in the regular season. Last year we talked about, oh my gosh, the forechecking looking aggressive, the speed looking great, and then we crapped the bed when it came to the first week of the season. So I don't know if it's that, but I honestly think, and we're going to have boots on the ground. Again, I'll talk to you about that soon. We're going to have boots on the ground in the next week or so at a Kraken game. I know they're on a road trip right now, but we are going to be able to talk to the Kraken, or at least that's the hope. We'll confirm that, or we'll let you know once we've officially confirmed it. But this is a team that has to be defense first. And I'm going to get into my 3 keys. We'll talk about that in the next segment. And then, we're going to end the show with a special edit. I'm super proud. Not a video editor by nature, but I took some time with some assets that we got from Arizona State University. Thank you so much to Paige over at ASU. And we have a special Joey Daccord little edit for you, but we'll end the show with that. Coming up next, we'll talk about some notes and quotes and things to know ahead of tonight's game. But I wanted to talk a little big picture here. And one of the things that you'll hear me talk about in the next segment is this is a defense first team, and they're going to have to be defense first against this Montreal team. Now, does Yanni Newman perhaps need a little bit of, does he have to prove a little bit more to Lane Lambert on the defensive side before we start seeing him get more comfortable and confident and get more minutes, so then we can see his offensive side? And, I respect it, If you're an everydayer, an OG, or I love talking about defense. I think it's critically important. I think we've had players on this team that have not leaned into the defensive identity of this franchise. So I get that you want players to buy in. And I do think that there's a balance. I'm not saying that Lane Lambert isn't reaching that balance or that Yanni isn't reaching that balance. I'm just saying, as we have this conversation, because I do think it's going to be several episodes where we talk about this, because everything's still new. Will there become a point in time, and I don't think we've reached it yet, I want to be clear, but will there become a point in time where even if Yanni Newman isn't giving exactly what Lane Lambert and the coaching staff want on the defensive side, will there become a time where the value added that he can provide offensively will give him more minutes? And that's a conversation I want to have, because I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting specifically with him, and maybe some other players as well. But Yanni Newman right now stands out to me. I think Berkeley Cadden, who I'm expecting to be a scratch once again, could be one of those players. But the Kraken have a formidable opponent that they're going to be taking on in the Montreal Canadiens. Again, it's going to be an emotional night. We'll talk a little bit about that through the eyes or words of Jeff Baker. It's going to be interesting to see what this Kraken team can do, especially knowing that there's several players on this Montreal team, including a young defenseman that made our Locked On Kraken top 100 NHL players. We haven't really talked about this list. We'll talk about it a little bit today, mostly through the eyes of Montreal, but also you'll get to see who from the Kraken made the list and who I think should have made the list that didn't. But I think his position might have been a little tough for him from Seattle to make it. But that one player did get honored, wink, wink, by his alma mater, and we'll close the episode on a high note. Yes, that player is one Joey Daccord. Coming up next, though, let's get you some game day notes, really get into the thick of it when it comes to what you can expect or what I want to see in tonight's matchup in Montreal. Today's episode, once again, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season and, of course, the NHL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the app or on the website. And listen, you can look at future props. We like to talk about future props on Locked On Kraken. You can look at building parlays, player props, even live lines during the game. You can do it all on the app and at FanDuel.com. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Hey, Seattle hockey fans, Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken, again, a contributor over at CBS Sports and an accredited media member for Milano Cortina, where I'll be covering the women's and men's ice hockey tournaments at the Olympics. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination, your first listen of the day, your midday listen, your late night listen. Either way, we appreciate you. If you're not already subscribed on YouTube or subscribed on your favorite audio platform, please do that. Hey, I know that a lot of you engage with me on social media or in person, and that's amazing. And a great way to share that you appreciate the show is to subscribe. That's a key metric when it comes to how well we know this show is doing. And so I'm grateful for those of you, again, who choose us every single episode. The Seattle Kraken going to be taking on Montreal. That's right. The Montreal Canadiens will be hosting the Seattle Kraken. The Canadiens are 2-1, so they played one more game than the Kraken, who are 2-0. Nick Suzuki leading the team with 5 points. He has all of those points are assists, where Zach Bolduc has 3 goals, and he is the leading goal scorer. Jared McCann is our leading goal scorer with 2 goals overall. Now, Nick Suzuki is indeed one of those players that made our top 100 NHL players from as chosen by Locked On podcast hosts. Nick Suzuki actually comes in at number 59. And as far as players that we will see in tonight's fixture, according to my colleagues over here at Locked On NHL, he is the highest ranked at 59. Now, Nick Suzuki is someone that, we've talked about in the past, and we know how good of a player he can be. We heard from, or we read Jeff Baker, or you should read if you haven't. I certainly read Jeff Baker's piece where we know a lot of conversation is around Lane Hutson, and we'll talk about him, especially coming off of his extension. He's the Calder Trophy winner, 21 years old, but at 26, Nick Suzuki, as you can see, is catching the eye of a lot of our different hosts across the network. The centerman wears number 14 and again leads the Canadiens right now in points overall. But he's not the only player. And we have to talk about, who else is on this list. First of all, there goes our guy, Vince Dunn. He's the highest ranked Seattle Kraken player on our Locked On NHL Top 100 Players list. So he's the second highest ranked player. Vince Dunn, again, one of the 2 players that has 3 points in this season. But then you have Lane Hutson, the now sophomore in his sophomore season, but he led rookies with assists, 60 assists last season, and points, 66 points, and became just the 4th defenseman in NHL history to lead rookies in scoring. And so this is a talent for sure. And Lane Lambert discussed Lane Hutson a little bit during his availability earlier today, Tuesday, ahead of the game in Montreal. We also know that Freddie Gaudreau is asked a lot about. He is from Montreal, came over in a trade from the Wild, but the undrafted player from Montreal originally. And he spoke to media yesterday about being back in Montreal, and a lot of excitement there. So it's also going to be an emotional day for our centerman, Freddie Gaudreau, 32-year-old, centering that 4th line with Cartier and Yanni Newman, who I talked about in the first segment. But this, I like this. I like that we're taking on this Montreal team early, because this is a fast and highly skilled team. We know this, and that's what Lane Lambert told us earlier today. He wants his team to be able to handle Montreal's speed. And I think this is a good test, because this is a defense first team. We know that, the Seattle Kraken, that is. This is also a team that they have to be defense first, because I think we're still trying to figure out the scoring touch. I love how Dunn has started. I love how Beniers has started. I love how McCann has started. But I do think there are other elements to our offense, including, just generally speaking, the net front presence. We have attacked the net more than I've seen, quite honestly, in a long while. And there's still a little more coordination that's needed there. Still more players that have to step up there. And so if that's where our bread and butter is offensively, again, getting into the zone early, which we have been doing. I saw a comment, and I didn't pull this up, so apologies, I'm not going to remember off the top of my head, but I know that one of our listeners commented that great to get the 2 wins, but on the power play, are we kind of playing with our food? Are we a little too hesitant? And that will come into play, more generally speaking, when I give you my keys to the game. But when it comes to what Jeff Baker is seeing, I just do want to acknowledge this. Hall of Fame goaltender Ken Dryden passed away. I mentioned this at 78 years old, lost his battle to cancer. He is known for anchoring the dynasty teams that won 4 straight Stanley Cups and 6 championships in 8 seasons for Montreal, back in the 1970s. He's expected to be honored before today's game, which again is also the home opener for the Montreal Canadiens. And so a lot of emotion, a lot of fanfare, a lot of excitement that does not directly relate to the Seattle Kraken, who of course are on the road. And so is that going to really galvanize this team? They're already a super fast team. They're charged up. They have offensive defensemen. So there's a lot coming at the Seattle Kraken. And so that's one thing that, from Jeff Baker's perspective, he wants to see the team manage. He also talks about Jared McCann and, again, some of the pain and discomfort that perhaps he was experiencing last season. But Jeff Baker, as I often do, reminds us that McCann has always been our leading goal scorer. He's our first player to ever get a contract extension. And so, yeah, seeing McCann, believing in McCann, expecting McCann to play at a high level is something that we're going to do. But guess who else is going to be doing that? Montreal. So as much as we want to set up McCann, sometimes setting your best player, or at least your hot scorer, up means that other guys have to start attacking so that the defense can not only single out McCann. And another thing that we hear from Jeff Baker is he's like, know your personnel. Yes, you have to focus on Hudson. He just signed an 8-year, $70.8 million extension Monday. Woo! Talk about get you a bag, young man. I love it. And so that's a player that we're going to have to narrow in on, and that's going to be a commitment to defense. I'll tell you a little bit about what I want to see defensively, or at least in the physicality department, coming up later on the show. But he also talks about, it's not just Suzuki, it's not just Hudson, it's Cole Caulfield, 21, Uri Slavkovsky at 21, Ivan Demidov at 19, Kirby Dach at 24, Noah Dobson, who they got from the Islanders, Zach Bolduc, who I talked about. They've got a lot of young talent that they're seeing and trusting in their lineup. And again, that goes to the tune of them being a part of them being a part of the Locked On NHL Top 100 players. Hudson comes in at 82 right there. And then we also see Caulfield and Dobson on this list at 93 and 95. Right in between them is our second and unfortunately final Seattle Kraken player to make the top 100 in Jared McCann. I told you that McCann I told you McCann and Vince Dunn were among my top 3. However, I did think that the best chance for the Seattle Kraken to make this list was actually Joey Daccord. But you know what? There's some elite level goaltending. Joey has had some great numbers, but he's not going to pull a national audience in the same way that some other goaltenders do. So if we just go to the top 10, we see some amazing names here, including Connor Hellebuck, who had, a fantastic season coming in at 7. Alexander Barkov at 9. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury. We go through 11 through 20. You see Marner, Eichel there, Sidney Crosby, Shesterkin. You love to see that. Matthew Tkachuk. We move on to 21 through 30, and you see Reinhart, Ovechkin. Ovechkin coming in the just outside of the top 25 is kind of wild to me. Braden Point, Victor Hedman on this list. Then again, we start seeing some of the goaltenders really find their way. Sorokin, Ottinger, we have other players like Brady Tkachuk, Nico Hischier, Adam Fox. We go on and continue rounding out the top 50. Robert Thomas or Bobrovsky, great player for the Panthers. Sam Bennett as well. Jesper Bratt, someone I got to call one of his hockey games when I called that radio game for the New Jersey Devils back in 2022, coming back from my last Olympics. So you can see that this is a pretty stacked list here. Boldy coming in at 52. Again, we talked about Suzuki at 59. So I mean, I think Joey Daccord deserves some more recognition than he does at the national level. Not a lot of goaltenders, though, as you can see. I don't know. What do you think? I'll run through our top 100. I just wanted to mention it because I thought it was cool to mention specifically for this matchup. But coming up next on Locked On Kraken, perhaps snubbed from our top 100 of Locked On NHL best NHL players at the moment, but number one in our net and perhaps in our hearts, and the first ever ASU Sun Devil alum to have his name and jersey number lifted into the rafters. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Joey Daccord. I will play a video edit from his jersey retirement at ASU, but first, I will give you my keys to tonight's game against Montreal. Seattle hockey fans, thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by Monarch Money. Now, most people can't name all their financial accounts and even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. So don't fumble the bag and get yourself Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your mobile device. Monarch is built for people like me who live busy lives, who are juggling multiple things, and sometimes you got to get by with a little help from your friends and from your friendly apps. And that's what Monarch Money can do for you. It does the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, clear data visualizations. I talk to you all the time about the cash flow. Data visualization, so important as a business owner. You can get smart categorization of your spending so that you know exactly where your money is going. And you can finally feel in control of your money without touching a spreadsheet. I'm terrible at making spreadsheets. I can use a template, but coming up with one on my own, no thank you. And again, Monarch, you don't even need a spreadsheet at all. Monarch will do the heavy lifting. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code Locked On NHL. All right, Seattle hockey fans, it's a game day. That's right. I'm going to go sift through. I'm a little, I don't know if I would say superstitious, but I'm mindful that I have not brought out the UMA hat for our first two wins. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments and on social media, do you want the UMA hat back after wins? If anything, I might have to grab the chain because that thing is super cool. But I'm back home, back at headquarters. Well, headquarters is actually technically somewhere else now, but I am back home. And I'm excited for this game, but there are some things that the Seattle Kraken have to take care of. Again, best start that we've ever seen, but it's only 2 games, people. And honestly, again, there's at least a part of me that's like, geez, Louise, you mean to tell me in 4 previous seasons, we could not win our first 2 games out the gate? Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. But let's talk about my 3 keys to the game. But first, how have we been lining up? This is what we're expecting to see for the Seattle Kraken. Beniers centering McCann and Eberle, Wright centering Schwartz and Tolvanen. Stevenson, look at that third line, bottom 6. Okay, I wasn't sure it would happen. I haven't talked too much about that, but we'll talk about it for sure. Stevenson centering Marchment and Winterton, and Gaudreau centering Cartier and Newman. Gaudreau talked to us 2 days in a row because, again, Montreal is his home. Undrafted comes from here. But Lane Lambert just really likes that he's a veteran alongside Stevenson. But you see that they're putting the young talent up top. Now, is that a Lane Lambert thing? Is that a Botterill thing? Is it a combo? I'm just relieved that we don't have to have that conversation. But now, Beniers has been stepping up. Shane Wright, I think, has had serviceable games. He's definitely had some opportunities, and I think his time will come. So keeping an eye on that. On defense, Vince Dunn with Larson, Lindgren with Montour, Mahura with Alexiak. Lindgren and Montour, I think, are going to be key fixtures here, specifically because we know Brandon Montour and Vince Dunn, who obviously is one of our leading point scorers right now, they can get up in the attack. But as much as you want to see that, you also want to be responsible, which leads into my 3 keys, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. Expecting Joey Dax to be in net, and likely Philip Grubauer. But some interesting notes here. And there's a article up on the Seattle Kraken website that we'll talk about eventually. But when it comes to performance against Montreal, Matt Murray is 8-4-0 with a 2.23 goals against average, a 924 save percentage, and a team high 12 career games versus Montreal. Philip Grubauer has a 4-4-0 record, so basically at 500, 274 goals against average, and a 900 save percentage. 8 career appearances against Montreal. Joey Daccord has the least amount of games, just 3 total. He's 2-1 though, with a 2.45 goals against average, a 908 save percentage, 4 career starts versus the Canadiens. So actually, Matt Murray has the best overall record against Montreal. I doubt that we'll see him start. Could he be the backup instead of Philip Grubauer? Possibly, but I'm expecting Joey Daccord to start this game, but let me know, when is the right time to give someone else a start other than Joey, and why is it probably next week when we have our first back-to-back? We'll talk about all of that coming up, but I want to give you my keys to the game. And, I think that they're just some things that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You have your best start in franchise history. You got to do some of the things that you've been doing in the first 2 games. And that's putting defense first. This is a team that knows that everyone is expected to be defensively minded. That is the expectation. I love that Lane Lambert has set that expectation, and it's been working. The second for me is let's get physical. When we look at this game against Montreal and the opportunity to slow them down by putting up hits, that's going to be huge. And as far as in the hits department right now, we have Ty Cartier leading with 9. Actually, I should say he's tied with Tolvanen with 9 hits overall, and Larson with 6. Brandon Montour put on a monster hit. I mean, we've seen guys really putting on hits. We've seen guys getting into fights, fisticuffs. Now, the fighting, as you know, if you're an everyday or an OGer, I think there's a difference between hockey fights and hockey hits and physicality. I know that Lane loves that early on in this season, the guys are setting the tone. And you know what? As much as I hate hockey fights, I'm with him, because there have been times, and we talked about this, I feel my blood pressure rising, where we have been absolutely punked. Okay? And we have no, we're not doing that anymore. And so sometimes you got to get a little crazy look in your eye just to let other teams know that you are not to be trifled with. And so while I don't like fights overall, I think they're stupid. Why would you bare knuckle someone who's still wearing a helmet visor? That just doesn't make any sense to me, let alone padding everywhere. Again, if you know, you know, I hate fighting, but I'm all about physicality. I'm all about sending messages. I am the queen of mind games and using your physical presence and your energy exchange to play mind games and get into the head of folks. And if this is a fast team, if this is a highly skilled team that we're going to have to slow them down, a way that you do that is that you play a physical game. You get into their ribs, you get into their body, you make contact. And again, I believe the broadcast, when I was doing the rewatch, talked about the difference between being physical and menacing versus taking silly fouls. I don't want us taking silly fouls. I don't want us fighting. But again, I feel like I've made my point this episode. I'll probably talk about it again sometime soon. But we got to be smart. We still have to be smart. And if you play that physical game, sometimes if you frustrate the other team because they're not able to execute, or because literally you're on them like, freaking I don't know, butter on toast, then they're going to start giving it back. And those are the things that I want to see more from this team. And then you got to get shots up. We have been outshot a number of times, and sometimes badly, just in a 120-minute period. So we've got to get shots up. And we've heard Lane Lambert, and I mean, I really went in the offseason because he started, really opening up about his philosophy about, do you want more shots versus high quality shots? If you have more shots, but you also have more low danger shots, are those still good shots? But do you need to take the high shot volume and sometimes the lower quality shots just so you can discern what are the, you know what I'm saying? Like, I loved it. I was like following his lead completely. I wasn't lost. I loved that he said that. And that is the game. But right now, I want us to get shots up. We have to, that's another, I think that goes into getting physical. And sometimes being physical is doing what you can with a hard shot. Make the other team have to stop something. Make them have to work on their defensive end. Those are my 3 keys. What do you have for this game? Let me know in the comments. You can also follow us on TikTok at Locked On Kraken, on IG, Instagram at Locked On Kraken, on Facebook at Locked On Kraken, and yes, on the Twitter machine, Joe is handling that at Locked On Kraken. That's right. You guessed it. For the rest of today's show, I'm going to take you to an edit that I made. This is Joey Daccord being honored by ASU, and this is a mix of some of the behind-the-scenes footage that ASU, Arizona State University ice hockey sent us, and the media availability with Joey Daccord immediately following this. He had a tight turnaround, wanted to be there, obviously wanted to be honored, and he made it clear that his priority at this point in the season, this was ahead of the game, the home opener, that last weekend before the home opener, he said, I've got to be back to practice. But I'm glad Joey had this moment, and I wanted to share this moment with you. I really just enjoyed being able to cut up some of this footage, and we'll have some of it on social media as well, as it's already posted as a standalone if you want to watch it. But here's Joey Daccord being honored and watching his jersey number retired at his alma mater.
Let's f***ing go, boys! That was not over yet. Oh. That was crazy. Wow. This is so wow. That is something. That's incredible. That was chills. That was nuts. You never know what that's gonna feel like until you feel it in the moment, you know? Instant chills. Holy smokes. The Joey chant was out of the movies. Oh my goodness.
We had our team bonding trip on Thursday, came back. We got back from that around 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and my flight was at 2:30. So I just raced home, grabbed my stuff, my clothes, my jacket, and picked up my parents, my family, my brother, and all my friends, and we went right to the airport, and then I think I got back around midnight. So that was sweet. Arizona State hooked it up. They sent a plane to come get me, which was great. I kind of told them, hey, the only way this is going to work is I have to be back for practice the next day, so there's no commercial flights at midnight to come back to Seattle. So they made it happen. I really appreciated them, taking care of me and my family. So that was sweet. It's great travel experience. It went by so fast. I tried to, as much as I possibly could, just soak it all in and remember it. And just be in the moment. But yeah, I mean, it went by so fast. It was so special though. It was so special, and it's the most special nights of my life. Yeah. I read the starting lineup before the game, which was cool because as a goalie, you never really get to do that. Right. So I read the lineup before the game, and it was great to have a chance to go see those guys, and they were fired up. I know it didn't go their way this weekend, but they're a good team. They played against a good team, and they're going to have a lot of success this season. So. I love following along. I'm always watching. It's an insane experience. And at the time, the rink was it was in the works, but nothing was official. We didn't know when it was going to happen, if it was going to happen. So I guess I never really envisioned that. But, I mean, I told the story a few times over the weekend. Coach Powers, when I did my official visit, his vision for me was I was going to go there. I was going to help the team kind of get to where, you know, the university and the program wanted to. And he was like, you're going to come here, you're going to sign the NHL, play in the NHL, and one day we're going to retire your jersey.
This kid, he came here and like, I think I've said it to you guys, but I'm going to say it again, right? The vision was just a vision, right? Like everything you get to experience, and everything that you go through here, the perks, the fans, the facilities, the jerseys, the league, everything was a pipe dream. He sat in a janitor's closet with me in a 700-seat community ice rink. He was, I'm not kidding, it was the second ever official visit at ASU, and the rest is history. And now he is what he is, and he's our first Sun Devil to have his jersey retired. And it is such a tremendous honor to be here and be a part of it, and to be able to look up and see his name and number in the rafters every time we take this ice. And we're really thrilled that you're here, Dax.
So 10 years later, from just over 10 years later from my official visit, having that moment to kind of come full circle gave me the chills, you know, when it was happening, and just a really special night.
Thanks for having me, boys. Appreciate it. It's crazy. I mean, I came here 10 plus years ago on my official visit, and Coach Powers said one day, we're going to retire your number, and now here we are. So it's nuts, honestly. I don't want to take too much of your time. Big night tonight. I got two things for you. First off, it's an honor and a privilege to wear this jersey. It means a lot. I know it's only been here 10 years, but it means a lot to everyone that's a part of it. Represent it proudly. Second thing, there's a lot of noise around this game tonight, right? All the hype, whatever. You have a job to do. Get it done, all right?
But, you know, they call that place the house that Joey Daccord built. And from where that program was when you first got there to what you see now, what sense of pride does it give you to know that you played such a huge part in growing hockey in the desert?
I'm so proud of it. I'm honestly so proud of it, because that was the whole vision that Coach Powers kind of set forth for me and for all of us, was, hey, you can come here and you can literally be the tradition. And I think about now, looking back, it was not that long ago. It was 10 years ago that I did my visit to now and where the program is. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of the school, the hockey program, and just where it is now is incredible. And like you said, I feel such a strong sense of pride about it. Just happy that I could help get it to where it is, and you know, I'm so grateful they gave me the opportunity. Right, that was the biggest thing. They were the only school that offered me a scholarship, so they gave me a chance, they gave me an opportunity, and just happy that I was able to make the most of it, and kind of pay it back to them for giving me that chance.
Joey. I mean, wow, amazing. I've got my Daccord Firebirds bobblehead back here. It's been a delight to cover Joey Daccord. He is always so gracious and kind to us in media, and you can tell that moment meant a lot to him. Someone who's very involved in my alma mater. I've got my Elon University calendar here. This is we had a big fan of the softball team that would carve these nameplates for us with my number, Erica 22. When you have people, especially at that age, that just pour so much into you and see the vision even before you do, and then you execute on that vision, it's really special. It's really awesome. So thanks for letting me share that. That was just an edit that I did. Shout out to CapCut with some of the background music and all that stuff. And again, to ASU and the Seattle Kraken. A reminder to be like Joey, be kind to yourself first and foremost, believe in yourself, so that you can extend that to other people. I think we saw a little bit of it, but what really stood out to me is that Joey, he spoke to every single person that he saw. And when he noticed that there was someone from security that was assigned to him and his family, he asked that person's name, thanked them. He just was having a good time. He shared that moment graciously with everyone. So try to do that when you can, but it first starts with being kind to yourself. And as Seattle hockey fans, we hold fast, we stay true, loud and proud. We say, let's go Kraken. And hey, the Seattle Kraken, they've got some winning to do if they want to continue to be in the conversation, which with some of the other Seattle teams that are getting it done in their respective seasons, including the Mariners. All right, that's our episode. And Erica L. Ayala signing out. Until next episode, be well and enjoy the game tonight. I'll catch you on the next one.